Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Story Time with Rashmi. So today, I'm not the one who's narrating a story. We have Shwetha, and she's going to say a wonderful story for all of us. So, to tell about Shwetha, she's already been here telling us a story. So, Shwetha had been in the corporate world for a couple of years as a tax professional consultant. She took a sabbatical from her work, and once her daughter was identified on the spectrum, and she took to educating children with special needs, specifically with autism. She, as a mother and a caregiver, has an experience of 12 years, which she has given to her daughter and understanding the world around her. So, in today's story, it's about her daughter who's written a wonderful story, A Day at the Movies. So, this story narrates the feelings of everybody in the society. It's not just us, the neurotypicals, but everybody wants to be part of the society. So, I give it over to Shwetha to narrate this wonderful story for all our listeners here. So let's begin the story, A Day at the Movies.
Hi everyone, so happy to be back here and so happy to be reading what is the sequel of the story that I read last time. It's about Akanksha, it's about Tanay, two non-speaking autistics and their experience when they dip their foot into the dating world. So today's story is called A Day at the Movies. And here it goes. Big days meant making big decisions, or so believed Akanksha, and it was precisely one such day. A day when Akanksha and Tanay were going to watch a movie at a theater all by themselves for the first time ever. What's the big deal about a couple of 21-year-olds going to watch a movie all on their own, you may wonder? Well, it is a big deal when the 21-year-olds in question are non-speaking autistics who type to communicate and who experience the world as differently as Akanksha and Tanay did. Akanksha remembered Tanai's response to the grand movie plan when she suggested it during their weekly Cubbon Park jaunt very vividly. What? He had typed, his face replete with shock and disbelief. Why do you want to go to a dark, claustrophobic, and noisy place? What's wrong with Cubbon Park? What can be wrong with Cubbon Park? Typed Akanksha, even as she made a childish face. Nothing, except I'm bored of it and want to do something different for a change. But do you think we can manage alone, just the two of us? Typed Tanay, worried that Akanksha might actually insist on seeing this madcaper scheme through. I mean, imagine going into a deep, dark dungeon called a movie theater all alone. Well, not exactly alone. Akanksha would be with him. He would, of course, be wearing his noise-cancelling headphones to cushion his hearing when the movie would begin playing oh so loudly. They could plan their logistics to account for a houseful screen. Armed with their e-tickets, they could enter the movie hall in advance and sit in their place before the milling crowd begins to arrive. Though he was the kind that preferred documentaries over movies, he was prepared to sit through and endure an entire movie for the sake of Akanksha. All said and done, there still existed a very distinct possibility of either of them, or both feeling overwhelmed by the whole experience. After all, meltdowns were a real part of their autistic lives. Would it not be easier to stick to the tried and tested walk in the park, followed by coffee at their favorite CCD? Well, typed Akanksha, how many 21-year-olds around us ask for a chaperone to go watch a movie? She typed knowing fully well what Tanai's response would be. She understood the reason behind Tanai's reluctance only too well. And to be honest, she nursed those very same anxieties herself. After all, things did go haywire when a meltdown happened. And there were times when things got crazy enough to warrant a meltdown, in spite of all the preparation. The one thing that Akanksha realized was that most situations and outcomes were unpredictable. But should she let the fear of a possible meltdown rule her choices and determine what she could do and what she could not? Hell, no. It was a fact that accidents occurred every day. But that did not stop most people from taking their car to school, to work, or wherever else they wanted to go to. Heaven knew she was super nervous even to think about it, but she did not believe in giving up without a try. So try she would, and she would make sure Tanay followed suit. After all, wasn't that what girlfriends were there for? How many 21-year-olds around us experience the world the way you and I do? Typed Tanay. And how many 21-year-olds who are like us have gone alone to the movies? There's always a first time for everything, and we are probably going to be the first non-speaking autistics to do it, typed Akanksha. Isn't that doubly exciting? Exciting, Tanay said to himself, even as he looked at Akanksha with disbelief. Suicidal would be a more appropriate term, but Akanksha was stubborn as a mule. Do you think our parents will agree to this crazy scheme of yours? Typed Tanay, hoping this idea will meet its end at the hands of two sets of larger-than-life parents, as most parents of autistics are bound to be. If I convince my parents and yours, typed Akanksha, will you come? Yes, typed Tanay reluctantly. Sure enough, Akanksha, being the force of nature that she was, managed to convince the parents with the caveat that both Akanksha and Tanai's mothers would follow them in another car and wait right outside the movie hall should they need something. Every single part of the planning, including booking tickets for online for the latest Karan Johar flick. Just when he thought things could not get any worse, Pat came Akanksha's movie suggestions. Downloading it on the phone and making sure that everything was in place was done by Tanay, whose obsession with planning and perfection was stuff that legends were made of. Soon it was the D-Day, and Akanksha and Tanay set off with Akanksha's trusted driver, Haryanna, in her car while the mothers followed suit in Tanay's car. You look so nervous, typed Akanksha. It seems as if someone's asked you to put together the plan for country's defense and you are going to make sure that it's being executed properly. Relax, it's just a movie and we'll be fine. Sarcastic much? Typed Tanay, who counted to 10, then to 20, and all the way up to 100, but could not calm the swarm of monarch butterflies that were leaping about his stomach in full speed. We are not just going to be fine, we are going to be super. They soon reached the theater, and it was time to get off. Tanay made sure that his noise cancellation headphones were firmly in place and checked the phone gallery to retrieve the tickets. Akanksha also took deep breaths to calm her racing heart and said a small prayer as they headed inside the semi-dark movie hall. They found their place and decided to sit down, even as people began to trickle in. Soon the hall was nearly full. This is so not claustrophobic, typed Tanay, making a face. Have you heard of the adage, what you seek is seeking you? Typed Akanksha. If you keep telling yourself that this is claustrophobic, then that's precisely how you'll end up feeling. Instead, tell yourself that you're going to be fine and you will end up feeling fine. The lights were turned off and the show was about to begin. Akanksha wore her AirPods to cushion her ears from the loud noise and began watching the movie. She noticed Tanay rock and calm himself down when it got sensorially tiring and realized that she was also doing the same. The movie was not bad so far, and things were going well for them. Soon it was intermission. Akanksha headed to the washroom, a victory song playing in her head. The washroom was crowded, and there were many women waiting their turn. Some were using the mirror to apply a fresh coat of lipstick, while others were waiting with little children in tow. A couple of them were talking on their phones. Akanksha surveyed the scene playing out in front of her with a not-so-critical eye. And then the seeds of self-doubt hit her with the force of a hurricane, taking away in its wake the steely resolve to see this outing through to its logical conclusion. Everyone out here is cut from a mold, spoke the voice of self-doubt, loud and clear. Except for Tanay and you, meltdowns are a part of the mold called autism. That die has been cast for good, and all these bright lights and loud noises might just get you there. Akanksha felt the dark cloud of anxiety looming large around her. They had enjoyed the experience this far all by themselves, managing the sensory inputs from the environment remarkably well. The smart thing would be to quit while they were ahead of the game. It was time to head home. Tanay waited for Akanksha outside the movie hall, wondering what was taking her so long. A couple of passers-by stopped to stare at him, for he was rocking. He chose to ignore them, like he usually did. Soon, he saw Akanksha head his way, looking visibly anxious. What happened? He typed, concern written large on his face. Are you okay? You look so flustered. Are you feeling unwell or something? I'm okay so far, but I think it's time for us to leave, typed Akanksha. Tanay was taken aback. Things seem to be going fine so far. So why did Akanksha want to leave before watching the movie completely? Why should we leave? Typed Tanay. Are you beginning to feel uncomfortable? No, I'm not, typed Akanksha, but I don't want to wait until either of us begin to feel that way. Let's quit while we are ahead of the game. What's that even supposed to mean? Typed Tanay. And where is all this coming from? I had a moment of epiphany amidst a bunch of people, typed Akanksha. We are so different from every other person out there. In our world, the noises are louder, the lights are brighter, and the smells, they are overpowering. Even small groups of people can make us feel claustrophobic. Feeling overwhelmed may be an obvious outcome of experiencing the world more intensely. But when we feel that way amidst so many people, we feel so helpless. We can't express what's going on in our minds, and our behavior elicits rude comments. We've been great so far. Let's head home before things go south. Tanay began to comprehend what was happening. Self-doubt, the all-consuming monster that haunted him ever so often, had gone knocking on Akanksha's door. And Akanksha, the brave one, had succumbed to its call. They were here at the movie hall, all by themselves, having a good time more or less, all thanks to Akanksha's courage. After all, she was the one who had decided to think beyond the obvious limitations to pull off something that they had never done before, and did whatever it took to convince him to get there. At this point, there was no giving up, and he would do whatever it took to convince Akanksha to get right back in and finish watching the movie. I understand where you're coming from, typed Tanay, but I want you to hear me out with an open mind. What's the probability that both of us will begin to feel overwhelmed at the same time? Very less. So that means even if one of us begins to feel overwhelmed, the other can step in and get both of us out safely and on time to where our mothers are waiting for us. What are you trying to say? Typed Akanksha. That we should stop getting anxious about the possibility of a meltdown and head right back in to finish watching the movie, typed Tanay. But why would you want to do that? Typed Akanksha, with an incredulous look on her face. You didn't even want to do this in the first place. And like you rightly mentioned the other day, this is not even the last place on earth where we should be when we are having a meltdown. Let's just say that I'm finding the colorful antics of the male lead in the movie a bit too entertaining, typed Tanay, even as he held Akanksha's hand and led her back into the movie hall to finish watching the rest of the movie without giving her the opportunity to back off. And here's the prologue. The best term to describe this story is aspirational, yet seeking human connection to overcome self-doubt and head towards the path of growth is very real, and we autistics, just like everyone else, seek such a connection. The personalities of Akanksha and Tanay in this tale have been modeled on the personalities of my own parents. It takes the right blend of courage and practical wisdom to create magic. And that was the story. Thank you.
That's been a wonderful story, isn't it, everyone? So we have Purnima here who says, beautifully narrated story, Shwetha. And I'm sure all the listeners, all the parents would be able to relate it to it so much. It takes us through journey of emotions. The two characters basically are understanding each other's conversation. It was rightly said in the story, we would not have the meltdowns together. So that is the beauty of it. They were aware of their condition and how beautifully they sailed through their own emotions of as young individuals. Though the story gives a beautiful, beautiful message. Though we might be neurotypical or neurodivergent, whatever, we all have feelings, young and old. So this story has emotions and everything about non-verbal autistic young individuals, growing individuals, how they first time explore their emotions in the world without their parents around. And having seen their parents as role models, they have been able to, overcome the situations what Akanksha saw in a, a restroom where she had her thoughts where she was all positive, and then a doubtful situation came. So, what a beautiful story for all individuals, that each of us need human connect, and that human connect is, we all find it in our own tribe where we understand each other. And what better the story could have given us the message. So we find a happy place being together with our own tribe, a beautiful story by Aditi, and very, very nicely narrated by Shweta's mother. Nina says lovely, beautiful story, says Omeal. Vanishri says wonderfully narrated. What else could we have, you know, Aarti Mathur ma'am is also there. She says beautifully narrated, and it conveys all the expression of young individuals. And I'm sure all of us are really going to connect it. I was just reliving, kind of living the moments how the youngsters would be talking, and I'm sure we would have all loved hearing to this story written by Aditi and told by Shwetha. So a wonderful day to all of you. More such stories coming our way in our next storytelling session with Nina, me, and more storytellers. Stay tuned. A wonderful day to all of you. Bye-bye. Good day.
Thank you for having me over. Bye.
Thank you, Shwetha.
Bye.